Hi, everyone. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about, so I'm just going to talk about life. So today I witnessed a situation between the door person of a building and a delivery person. So the delivery person comes into the building and just points their phone at the door person. And the door person's like, "What?" And the person's like, "Well, I don't speak English, just..." And the door person's like, if you're going to come to this country, you need to learn how to speak English. If you're going to come and work in this country, you need to learn how to speak English because that's what I speak. I speak English. I don't speak this other language that you're trying to communicate with me with. And then the door person's like, I don't know. Is that what's on your phone? Is that Spanish? Is that English? I don't know. I can't read it, so I can't assist you. So it would be best for you to learn how to speak English if you're going to work in this country. So I was just trying to like not be in the situation, but I understood like I understood both sides, but I was also like I understood both sides. Let's just say that. And so the doorman was just like very frustrated, and I can understand why the doorman was frustrated because the doorman is not someone native to the US. So they had to learn to speak English to some extent, I think. Like maybe their native tongue is like some version of English. But anyway, he's like, you need to communicate to me in English because that's what I speak. And the woman was like, I don't speak English. I don't speak English, blah, 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 da, da, da. And she was like visibly upset by what he was saying. And she was like pushing back. And I'm like, if you don't speak English, how are you understanding what he's saying to you? And you're like attempting to push back in the language that you're speaking. And anyway, so I just tried to move away from the situation as fast as I could because I was with my son and like it was just getting heated up and he was very frustrated. And I could understand his frustration because he has to learn English to work here. And it's like, you should have to. Why do you get a pass? Why do you get to stick your phone in my face and I am supposed to do the interpreting for you? Why aren't you able to communicate with me? And to me, it's like in this day of technology, even if you're not speaking the language, you could have like gone on your phone and said whatever in your language and then repeated it to the doorman, to the door person, like at least in a voice memo that said, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. At least that shows some effort instead of just like pointing your phone at someone, which people have been doing all the time. Like even now, people asking for money are doing that. They will point their phone in your face and use Google Translate to just ask you for money. I'm like, what WTF? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm barely surviving. And I don't like to think in that, like, concept of barely surviving because I try to stay lighthearted. I try to stay positive. I try to stay in the space that God always provides what we need. So when I'm saying I'm barely surviving, things just keep getting more expensive. Life just keeps getting more expensive, and it feels like there's an effort just to make people poorer, more poor. And it's not just about people just buying stuff. Like if I want X, Y, and Z and I buy it, it makes me poor. It's just like you don't even a lot of the times have the option. And it's like, why can't you get yourself a nice pair of shoes? Why can't you get yourself a nice dress if you want it? It's like, if you're working hard, why can't you afford those things? Because everything else is so expensive. It just keeps like, it's just like perpetuation of just getting people to be poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. And it feels like that. It feels like no matter how hard you work within a certain class, like there's definitely classism in the United States. And it feels like no matter how hard you work within a certain class, doesn't seem a way to surpass that class or that box you're in. I don't know. Do any of you feel like this? Let me know in the comment sections if you feel like that. Even if you make, like, let's say you go from making X amount of money and you make a little bit more and a little bit more. but it doesn't matter because things just keep getting more expensive. Like you can't buy a house, your rent keeps increasing. So you get a little raise, you get a little bonus, but your rent increases, the groceries increase, and it just keeps you at the same level. Even though you might be making more money, it just keeps you at the same level. And it is infuriating, it is depressing, and it is a very, very sad. And the gap between poor and rich is just getting wider and wider. And I don't understand why people don't see that. It's just so crazy to me why people don't see that. And a lot of people in older generations, I feel like because it's not directly affecting them, they're really not cognizant of what's happening to every generation that's coming behind them. Because I know people who are like retired and they're like fine, but everybody else is not. Like everybody else, and then people like sometimes are shocked, like from older generations, how much, for example, I work. They're like, wow, you're still working? You work that long? Yes, I do. Not by choice. Not by choice. You know, you had it much better. You were afforded the ability to buy a house. You were afforded the ability to work a certain amount of hours and still be able to spend time with your family. It is not like that anymore. Unless you are very wealthy, it is not like that. And so, and then it's like, and it's like also, it's like they don't like the generation, it's just different. It's just different. Like grandparents are different. I don't know. And maybe it's just like in my head, or maybe it's just like I've seen other people and like how they interact with their family. And it's just a very different. Things are very different. And maybe it's in my head. Maybe I imagined how it is to have parents who care about you, who like want to sacrifice for you. But it seems like there's a generation of parents who are just super selfish. Like, they're like so selfish and like very self-absorbed. And maybe they have the right to be. I mean, they probably have the right to be because they probably sacrificed everything in their youth for us, for their children, right? And now that they're adults and going into their old age, they're like, I don't have to sacrifice anything to you. I don't have to watch your kids. I don't have to go out of my way um, to support you in raising your children or to support you in building a family. Why should I? I've already done that for my family. Now it's my time to live and I'm going to live it on my own. And I've heard this from numerous people in my age group with regards to their parents not really being involved in their lives or in their grandchildren's lives because they're busy living their own lives. Anyway, back to the doorman and the woman. So I've told you the doorman's perspective, which is I had to learn English. I have to communicate in English to keep my job. Why shouldn't you? And for me, it's like, okay, this person obviously came here and they're trying to do their best. Why shouldn't you just help them? If you see that they're struggling, why shouldn't you just help them? And I think this is the place that we need to go to as a living love consciously. There are mechanisms, there are things being put in place that constantly just keep us at each other's throats. And that's done purposefully. Like you hate the immigrants that come here because they're taking jobs from you. You hate the immigrants that come here because they don't speak the language yet they're able to work. You hate the immigrants that da, 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 da. You can just list a bunch of things. Da, 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 da. And then the immigrants hate you because you're telling them, go back to where you came from. You're telling them you don't deserve to be here because you don't speak this language. You're telling them, meanwhile, you don't know what wage they're being paid to do this job. They could not, they're probably not even making minimum wage. They could be making slave wages for all you know. And to some extent, we're all slaves. Like, we're all slaves in just different tiers of slavery. That's what I've come to the conclusion. We're all slaves. We're all in just different tiers of slavery, and there's just a ruling class and just the rest of us, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And instead of constantly being at each other's throats, belittling each other, putting each other down, just trying to one up each other, trying to be smarter than each other, teach. Like if you know something, help someone. Like if you know something better than I do, help me. Don't alienate me because you know because the color of my skin, because I'm my gender, because I believe in something differently than you do. At the end of the day, we're all gonna freaking die. And I don't know if we're gonna all meet each other in heaven, but we're all gonna die. And when you die, did you live your best life? Did you live a life where you tried your best to be a good person? Did you live a life where you tried your best to be kind, to be respectful, to walk in others' shoes and to see their perspective before you made judgment? And I think that's what it's all about. It's just the point of this whole story between the door person and this woman is just there's really no conflict. They both want the same thing. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to a good life. Everybody wants to be able to purchase some luxury things that they feel like they want. Everybody wants to be able to take a vacation. Nobody wants to be poor. Nobody wants to be begging for money. Nobody wants to be begging for water. Nobody wants to be in the slums or just nobody wants to be poor. So the fact that there is definitely people who want us to be poor, and the fact that we keep fighting each other is going to always result in the success of whoever it is that wants us to be poor, whatever mechanism it is that wants people to be poor, to be in the slave class, to be serfs, because we've always been serfs. Like, that has never gone away. It's just changed forms, and it's changed names, but we've all been versions of serfs, slaves in some different perspective in life. Like, if you work really hard and you still can't own something, you're fucked. Excuse my French. All right, I'm going to go because I'm getting way too passionate about this. And I hope this living love consciously anecdote helped you to just think about it before you get upset with someone, your neighbor, your colleague, your friend. Just think, is it really worth it? Shouldn't we be just trying to come together, trying to find commonalities and really working together to be people that Jesus would be proud of? I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Bye.